Really quickly before I get to the video, I really enjoyed making this, so if you want to see more content like this of an AI beating a certain game, please leave a comment down below and tell me how I can make this better. There are some parts that are really talking heavy and there's not a lot of action going on. So please, if you have any advice to improve it, let me know in the comments down below. But now, let's get back to the video. Hello, welcome to Berry Nerd Corner. My name is Brandon, and this is my attempt, well, not my attempt, but it's an AI's attempt to beat Pokémon Emerald. But what does that mean? It means I've gone to ChatGPT for every phase of this journey and asked, explain how do I do this? Explain what I should do here. And so we're going to see how good the AI is at playing Pokémon Emerald. The scoring is going to be pretty simple. Every piece of advice is 1 point. Any incorrect information is a miss. At the end, I'll take the total correct good pieces of advice divided by the total and get a percentage, which will be translated into a grade to see how well the AI did. Also, the scoring is going to be pretty arbitrary. It's my opinion on what makes good or bad advice. So if you disagree, let me know in the comments down below. Our journey begins with meeting programmer Birch. Professor allows me to name myself. I call myself ChatGPT and begin my journey. After exploring Little Root Town, it's time to choose a starter. When asked to explain the best starter in Emerald, my programming waxes poetic about how great each starter is depending on your playstyle. But basically, we have Trico, the grass starter that evolves into Grovyle at level 16, then Sceptile at level 36. It's pretty well balanced stat-wise with a bit of an emphasis on speed and special attack. You have Torchic, the fire type. It evolves into Combuskin at level 16, then Blaziken at level 36. It leans more towards physical attack and speed. Lastly, we have Mudkip, a water ground type that evolves into Marshtomp at 16 and Swampert at 36. It has an emphasis more on physical defense and attack. And then it recommends you balance your team composition around your starter. For being so non-committal, I'm giving it -1 point, 1 miss, and I'm choosing my favorite of the Hone starters, Trico. What's your favorite starter? Let me know down below. Now, for some plot. We beat Birch's real child to earn his love, but then he sends us off to do some research. May also rubs in the fact that she says real kid by giving us Pokeballs so we can do our research. Instead of doing research, we run into another estranged father figure who also sends us off on another errand, this time to help Wally catch his Ralts. We also meet a hoodlum dressed in blue. Before going much farther, I should catch some Pokemon. After some processing, my programming told me this. Trico evolves into Grovyle at level 16. It learns powerful grass-type moves like Leaf Blade, which can be very useful against the rock-type Pokemon that are common in Rustboro City. Zigzagoon. It's known for its ability Pickup, which allows it to find valuable items during battles. Zigzagoon also learns useful moves like Headbutt. Wingull can learn Water Gun, a powerful water-type move that can be super effective against rock-type Pokemon. It can also learn flying-type moves like Aerial Ace, which can be helpful against grass-type Pokemon. Ralts. Ralts is a Psychic Fairy Pokemon known for its high special attack. It can learn Psychic moves, which can be effective against many types of Pokemon. Ralts evolves into Curlier at level 20, and then into Gardevoir or Gallade. Electrike is an electric Pokemon that can be found on Route 110, a route players can explore before reaching Rustboro City. It's known for its speed, and can learn electric-type moves like Thunder Wave and Spark. Good to see my program is committed to a starter now, and I made the right choice. But it's not getting that point back. In fact, it's losing another point for suggesting Electrike, which I can't even catch right now, but I will get one later. Instead, it loses 3 points. 1 for mentioning the Fairy type, 1 for mentioning Gallade, and then 1 for suggesting Electrike, which I cannot catch yet. But with that out of the way, it's time to face Roxanne. Let me summarize what the advice is. I should level up my Pokemon to level 14 to 16, I should use a balanced team of super effective types and moves, I should stock up on healing items, I should use type advantage, I should be mindful of her Pokemon, I should use defensive strategies, be mindful of her Pokemon's moves, and save my strongest Pokemon for last. Again, if you want all that was said, links in the description. Unsurprisingly, this advice works pretty well. Wingull takes down both of her Geodude with single shots of Water Gun, then Grovyle beats Nosepass without taking any damage. Instead, I'm counting 4 points against the AI this time. 2 for suggesting types that I don't have access to yet, a 3rd for suggesting that Torchic is a good choice, and 4th for ignoring Roxanne's second Geodude. After that, there's a bit of plot with Team Aqua, but that doesn't really matter. So we head to Dewford Town, and I think it's time we expand the team a bit. This time, my programming recommends Taillow, which is a normal flying type. It can be found in a bunch of different spots. Wingull, another flying type, which was already recommended, Shroomish, a grass type Pokemon found in Petalburg Woods, Makuhita, a fighting type Pokemon that has high HP and attack, and then Tentacool, which can be found in the ocean. These are all solid Pokemon. I could count the repeated Wingull against ChatGPT, but I'm not going to do that this time. I'm not a heartless monster, unlike the AI. But with the new team intact, let's take on Brawly. My advice? Train your Pokemon to level 18 or higher, use the right type matchups, watch out for his Pokemon, Makuhita and Meditite. Use status moves, be prepared with plenty of healing items, and that's it. Let's see how this works before I give out any points. Tailo beats both Meditite and Machop without taking any damage. He then deals a ton of damage to Makuhita before getting completely obliterated by Vital Throw. Ralts then comes in to clean up the mess without taking any damage at all. This time I'm deducting 4 points for mentioning fairy types again, for forgetting Machop is there, for getting the team order wrong, and recommending dark type moves against Meditite. We then head to Slateport City where we meet the leader of Team Aqua, Archie. We also learn that they want to expand the scene. I mean, at least you're in the right region for that. If that doesn't pan out here, maybe check out Alola. Anyway, let's see what my programming says about the local Pokemon. Some Pokemon I should catch include Machop, Geodude, Numel, Slugma, Machoke, Grimer, and Baltoy. Well, that's a lot of hogwash. I do catch an Electrike and a Geodude, but I'm still taking away 7 points from the AI this time. 6 of those are for the incorrect recommendations, and the 7th is for mentioning the fairy type when talking about Grimer. There's an infamous rival battle here that I don't want to cover, but I did ask ChatGPT how to beat it, and I wanted to bring up and read some of its advice. It says to know your rival's Pokemon. The rival's team may consist of a combination of the following: a level 16 Grovyle, a level 16 Combuskin, and a level 18 Marshtomp. Exploit type advantages. If your rival has a Grovyle, use a water or rock type Pokemon to exploit its grass weakness. Similarly, if your rival has a Combuskin, use a water or electric type Pokemon to exploit its fire type weaknesses. And if your rival has a Marshtomp, use a grass type Pokemon. That's fine. I'm not deducting any points here, but I just wanted to show that the AI has no idea what it's talking about sometimes, and it's hilarious. This is why I'm not afraid of AI. Now it's time to face Watson, so let's see what advice the AI has in store for us now. Level up your Pokemon to at least level 20, assemble a balanced team with type advantage against electric types. This includes grass and ground type Pokemon. Stock up on healing items, utilize type advantage, watch out for Volt Switch, consider status effects, keep your Pokemon healthy, and then save your strongest Pokemon for last. If you've never brought a ground type to face Watson, this is about how it would go. Magnitude takes down Voltorb, Electrike, and Magneton with 1 hit each. Then, despite having only half its HP remaining, being 4 levels lower, and Watson using potions, Geodude still takes down Manectric, defeating Watson single-handedly. That is a negative 3 points though. Grass type isn't immune to or super effective against Electric, Volt Switch doesn't exist as a move yet, and his strongest Pokemon is not a Magneton. With a new badge in hand, let's catch some new Pokemon. My programming recommends Electrike, Magnemite, Numel, Machop, Geodude, and Torkoal. I'm going to deduct 2 points here though. One for suggesting Magnemite, which I can't catch yet, and the other for 4 repeated suggestions. But I do get to add my favorite Hoenn Pokemon to my team now. Skipping ahead, we reach Meteor Falls for our first encounter with Team Magma. They and Team Aqua head to Mount Chimney, so I guess I have to follow them? My artificial intuition tells me that there will be a climactic battle there, so let's see what my programming says. To beat Maxie, I need to prepare my team, I need to train my Pokemon to at least 5 to 10 levels above his, I need to bring healing items, understand his team, which consists of a Mightyena, a Camerupt, a Crobat, and a Golbat. Need to utilize type advantages, use stat boosting moves, watch out for Earthquake, take down Mightyena quickly because it's fast and it's strong, manage my Pokemon's HP, and use a balanced strategy of offensive moves, healing items, and Pokemon switches. Let's get into the battle. First is Hariyama versus Mightyena. The dog throws sand on our face, but Vital Throw never misses. It nearly knocks out the dog, and Maxie heals with a Super Potion. But that's not even enough to avoid the knockout on the second turn. Next is Zubat. But I have Gardevoir. Thank you. Next. Last is Camerupt. But I have Tentacruel. Thank you. Next. Oh, that's it? I'm going to deduct 4 points here. Again, 2 are for recommending a type that I don't have access to yet, this time being Ice. The third is for saying that Camerupt and Winona know Earthquake and Crunch, and then the final is saying for he has Crobat and Golbat. Well, now that my team is overleveled, let's take on Flannery. I should make sure I have a well-balanced team of Water, Rock, and Ground types. I should train my Pokemon again 5 to 10 levels above hers. I should bring healing items, understand her team, which is a Numel, a Slugma, and a Torkoal. I should use Water, Rock, and Ground type Pokemon. I should watch out for Overheat, use moves with accuracy and power. I should take out Numel and Slugma first. I should manage my Pokemon's HP and use a balanced strategy. Some of this advice repeats a lot, so I'm going to start cutting some of these pieces out. As you saw with Maxie, though, I have a Tentacruel. Bubble Beam is enough to take out Slugma, Numel, and Camerupt with ease. Torkoal survives 1 blast and sets up some sunlight. But she still can't deal any noteworthy damage. Flannery keeps healing and delaying the inevitable, but she can only delay it for so long. Eventually, Torkoal falls, earning us another badge. Well, that was an unbelievably easy battle. This was pretty solid advice, but I am going to take away 1 point for another suggestion to overlevel. That makes the game way too easy. With 4 badges in hand, it's time to face Norman. But before that, we're going to expand the team again. Once again, my programming recommends Magnemite/Magneton, Slugma, and Torkoal. But then it adds in Trapinch, Swablu, which becomes a Dragon Flying type Pokemon, and Cacturn, which is a Grass Dark Pokemon. These are pretty good Pokemon, but I'm going to take away 1 point for suggesting Cacturn because I can't catch it in the wild. I have to catch a Cacnea and evolve it. But now it's time to take down Norman. There's a lot of repeated stuff that I'm not going to go through, but 3 pieces of advice stick out to me. 1, I should be patient and wait for Slacking to skip a turn. I should have a backup plan in case my initial strategy doesn't work, and I should save before the battle. That's pretty good. Let's see how the battle goes. Round 1 is Spinda versus Breloom. Spinda confuses this room, but 2 Mach Punches knock it out anyway. Next is Vigoroth, so I switch to Hariyama. Thank you. Next, Lanoon is third. He manages to get Hariyama below half thanks to a lucky flinch, but he falls just as easily as Vigoroth. Finally, Norman sends out his ace, Slacking. Breloom comes in to Leech Seed and paralyze it. We then just whittle it down with a combination of damage over time and Machoke's Revenge. All the advice was pretty solid, but it does suggest that Rock and Steel are effective against Normal. Yes, they do resist it, but they're not super effective against it. And also telling you to use normal type moves against normal Pokemon is a bit weird, but that's not worth docking the point. So I'm only taking away the 1 for that Rock and Steel recommendation. Before heading to Fortree City, I am definitely catching a Magnemite. Clearly, I am programmed to need one, so I'm going to move on with it on the team. Speaking of, you know what time it is. New Pokemon. First is Swablu, already got it. Second is Oddish, then Meryl, which is a Water Fairy type, then Tropius, which learns Leaf Blade and has an ability called Harvest, and then Ninjask. Only 2 of these are technically available on the way to Fortree City, Oddish and Tropius. So that's -3. And then I'm going to subtract 2 more points for mentioning the Fairy type, the move Cross Scissor, the ability Harvest, and suggesting that Tropius knows Leaf Blade. At this point, that's a Grovyle Sceptile exclusive move. I could count that as 4 additional points, but I'm feeling generous. Along the way, there's a bit of drama with Team Aqua again, but still no battle with Archie. Instead, we have a battle with Birch's daughter May. But we pulverize that condescending woman to prove to him that we are much better than her. Anyway, let's fight Winona. I should use Rock and Electric type Pokemon, I should have a strong Ice type move, and I should consider Mega Evolution. That's all the new advice here. Going into battle, I lead with Electrike against Swablu. All he manages to do is paralyze the little bird before falling to Aerial Ace. This is why I don't like dogs. They're useless. Magneton comes in to take care of business. Winona then decides to send out her ace, so I swap for Tentacruel. Ice Beam leaves the Cloud Dragon with like 2 HP. This lets her hit with an Earthquake. Then a Hyper Potion fully heals Altaria, but 2 more beams take it out. Then the combination of Bolt Beam finishes off her Skarmory, Tropius, and Pelipper. Altaria is easily the most difficult part of that team for most challenges. For the first time, there was no level recommendation, which I thought was interesting. and that's why I started with Electrike, who is severely underleveled. But anyway, there are 3 bad pieces of advice here. Roost and Mega Evolution don't exist in Emerald, and you can't get Lapras, Glalie, or Walrein at this point, which it recommended. But overall, the program is getting pretty good. The advice is improving. Now for some new Pokemon. First is Absol. And I'm gonna have a slight side tangent here. I've had it in my brain to do an Absol only run in some Hoenn game, and naming Absol Bruno, like from Encanto. So if you want to see a challenge like that, comment down below. We do talk about Bruno. Anyway, other Pokemon recommendations are Tropius, Swablu, and Spinda, which aren't even on this route. Shuppet, which is available soon, Duskull, which is available soon, and that's it. Both of those are good Pokemon, so I'm going to catch them. But I'm going to take away 2 points from the AI for mentioning the ability Super Luck on Absol and recommending Pokemon that were only available on previous routes. Anyway, overall, I'm taking away 2 points from the AI. 1 for mentioning the ability Super Luck. Anyway, I'm taking away 2 points from the AI. The first for mentioning the ability Super Luck, and the second for recommending Pokemon only available on previous routes. Now we have some more plot with the villainous teams. This involved us going into an active volcano to face Maxie. I guess we had to escalate from battling on it somehow. For the sake of brevity, I'm skipping the advice and jumping straight into the battle. First up is Mightyena, but Hariyama was built for this. He even gets Swagger to boost his attack, making the KO even more painful. Maxie also has Crobat and Camerupt, but I have Magneton and Tentacruel. GG, dude. The advice that I didn't read was pretty solid. I am taking away a single point though for suggesting that Steel types resist fire moves. That's silly. Everything else is pretty solid though. Next, I'm skipping the Team Aqua stuff here because we don't battle Archie yet. So it's time for the next gym battle with Tate and Liza. The best advice that I had for Tate and Liza is to be mindful of their abilities, which most of them have Levitate, and then to be patient and persistent because they can be challenging. But let's see how challenging they actually are. Tate and Liza lead with Claydol and Xatu, and I send out Sceptile and Vibrava. I Wombo combo the Claydol to take it out, then do the same with both Solrock and Lunatone. Now it's a 6v1 and I've taken 0 damage. But Xatu has set up 2 Calm Minds at this point, so he starts ripping through my team with Psychic. I paralyze him and throw some sand in his face, disrupting his rhythm enough to take him down with a couple of super effective hits. That battle went about as I expected. Out of the 8 pieces of advice that I was given, there were only 2 issues. First, it suggested that rock types resist psychic moves, which they don't. And second, it recommended Metagross, which is completely unavailable outside of events in Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire until the postgame. With that detour done, we're back to plot. This time, we're heading deep undersea to battle Archie. Right before that, there was some drama at the Space Center involving a tag battle alongside Steven, during which his Skarmory used Toxic on my Hariyama because Hariyama has guts. Steven, just attack the opponent. Good golly, dude. Anyway, how do I beat Archie in the C4 cavern? I should make sure my team is leveled up, I should bring a water type, I should use status moves, have high defense and special defense, watch out for his ace Pokemon Sharpedo, use healing items, plan my moves wisely, and be patient and persistent. Let's see how the battle goes. Like Maxie, Archie leads with a Mightyena. Unlike Maxie, Archie doesn't just let Hariyama throw his dog into the nearest pool of liquid. He pivots out to Crobat, so I do the same to Magneton, who then electrocutes his entire team. Why didn't I do this from the start? Most of this advice is pretty good, but apparently my programming doesn't quite understand type matchups, which is understandable. Many humans don't either. But it recommended Blaziken, Marshtomp, and Swampert because they resist water-type moves, and also Steel and Rock-type Pokemon for the same reason. So I'm taking away 4 points. 2 for the weak type matchups like Rock and Blaziken, and 2 for the neutral, Marshtomp and Swampert and Steel types. For the penultimate time, let's catch some Pokemon. With most of the map opened up, I've got a pretty long list here. On Route 124, I should catch Tentacool, Wingull, and Pelipper. On Route 125, Electrike and Manectric. In the Shoal Cave, I should catch a Spheal. On Route 126, I should catch a Clamperl, which can evolve into Gorbis or Huntail. On Route 127 and 128, I should catch a Wailmer, a Sharpedo, and a Chinchou. And that's it. My programming goes a little more in depth into how Pokemon evolve and what type they are, but I don't have time for that. But all in all, I'm taking away 3 points for repeating all these recommendations. I already have these Pokemon, and you've recommended them like 4 times now. Pull yourself together, programming. Time for the final gem. There are only 2 noteworthy pieces of advice here. 1, level up my Pokemon to a range of 41 to 46. So with my 6 Pokemon, I had 1 at each 41, 42, 43, and so on. Second, I should pay attention to Juan's Mega Kingdra. Let's see how it goes. I have a Magneton and a Sceptile, but this still ends up being a pretty collaborative effort. Love Disc and Wishcash fall easily to these 2. Hariyama then takes moderate damage before finally defeating Celio. Kingdra foolishly doesn't use Ice Beam, allowing Flygon to defeat him with 2 hits. And last is Crawdaunt, who can do nothing as Sceptile bisects him. Now for the score. Kingdra can't Mega Evolve. Also, this is Gen 3. Megas won't exist for another like 6 years, Professor Birch. Come on. So that's minus 2 points for recommending Megas and suggesting that Kingdra could Mega Evolve. Now, for one last time, we're going to catch some more Pokemon. On Route 126, my programming recommends Tentacool, Wingull, and Pelipper again, but also Chinchou, Relicanth, and Wailord. On Route 127, it repeats Tentacool, Wingull, Pelipper, and adds Sharpedo, and then recommends Wailmer and Wailord again. Route 128, Tentacool, Wingull, Pelipper, Wailmer, Sharpedo, Carvana, Sharpedo. Then in the Victory Road, we get some new encounters. We get Golbat, we get Whiscash, we get Loudred, and we already had Machoke. But we do get Lairon. Back in the Shoal Cave, it recommends Spheal and Celio, the latter of which is not available, but also Snorunt, so I catch one of those. Then in the Sky Pillar, it suggests I get Bagon, Shelgon, and Altaria. There are like 20 repeats here. Tentacool and Wingull appear 3 times in this advice. Also, Bagon and Shelgon aren't even available in the Sky Pillar. So I'm taking away 8 points for all this. It's just nonsense. And now it's time for our final rival battle with Wally. My programming is a bit generic at this point, but there are 2 pieces of advice that I think are worth noting. 1, I should watch out for Mega Evolution, and 2, I should anticipate and counter his strategy, whatever that means. So let's see how this battle goes. Wally's team is a mixed bag, but none of his Pokemon are particularly strong. He leads with an Altaria. I send up Magneton for some variety, who electrocutes the Cloud Dragon. Then, Tentacruel comes in to drown Delcatty with 2 Surfs. Third is his ace Gardevoir. He looks into the future to foresee his death, leaving him wide open for a critical hit from Leaf Blade. After that, Roselia is put down with a couple of Ice Beams, and Magneton falls to a combo of Surf and Sand Tomb. Who would have thought that Sand Tomb would still be useful at this point in the game? But more importantly, why haven't I taught Earthquake to Flygon? Anyway, there are 3 issues here. My programming suggested he had a usual team composition of Water, Grass, and Psychic types. First of all, he doesn't have a Water type. Second of all, he doesn't have a usual team composition, he just has random Pokemon. And third, Mega Evolution doesn't exist yet. I don't know why I have to keep telling you this. So that's 3 strikes. And now for the Pokemon League. Instead of breaking these advice down one by one, I'm going to generate some generic advice for the whole Pokemon League and see what happens. While I'm reading this advice, check out the new team on the screen. Against Elite Four Sydney, who is a Dark type, I should use Fighting, Bug, or Fairy type Pokemon, moves like Close Combat, Mega Horn, and Moonblast. Against Phoebe, I should use Dark or Ghost type Pokemon, or moves such as Crunch, Shadow Ball, and Foul Play. Against Glacia, I should use Fire, Fighting, Rock, or Steel type Pokemon, with moves such as Fire Blast, Close Combat, Rock Slide, or Iron Head. Against Drake, I should use Ice Dragon or Fairy Pokemon, or moves like Ice Beam, Dragon Claw, and Moonblast. Then, after defeating the first 4 members of the Elite Four, I'll face the champion Steven, who specializes in Steel-type Pokemon. Rather than showing the whole battle, I'm just going to show some highlights until things get interesting. So, against Sydney, Hariyama pulverizes most of his team despite being confused, but then he smacks himself silly and falls to Cacturne. Against Phoebe, Tentacruel drowns most of her team, surviving on 1 HP to finish her Sableye and win the battle. Then against Glacia, Hariyama once again pulverizes most of an Elite Four member's team, but then Magneton comes in to clean up the rest. And lastly, we have Drake. First is Gardevoir versus Shelgon. I predict to protect, so I set up a Calm Mind. However, my programming, by which I mean my human brain, fails me here. I set up another 2, taking a hard double edge. Then, when I finally attack, Shelgon blocks the hit with Protect. No matter, the following Psychic takes it down. But then Flygon comes in, outspeeds the surprisingly slow Gardevoir, and bodies her with Earthquake. I then decide for a mirror match, sending out my Flygon. Drake keeps using Crunch though, allowing my Flygon to win eventually, despite a full restore. Third is Altaria, and I choose to stay in, which is another mistake. Dragon Claw barely does half, then Altaria's Dragon Breath takes out Flygon. I send out Tentacruel, who specializes in killing dragons. Fourth is Kingdra, and I switch to Sceptile. He uses a combination of Dragon Claw and Giga Drain to stay healthy and weaken the Seahorse twice. But eventually, Kingdra takes down my starter with a Body Slam. Fortunately, Hariyama comes in to clean up the mess while the dragon tries to set up on me. But now Drake is down to his strongest Pokemon, Salamence. Magneton is outsped and melted immediately. Hariyama only manages a few soft hits before falling as well, and now we're down to a 1v1. Fortunately, my one is the Dragon Slayer. Tentacruel tanks the Dragon Claw pretty well, then claps back with an Ice Beam to finish the Elite Four. Let's tabulate some points here before we face Wallace. My programming mentioned 4 later gen moves, the Fairy type, and 4 incorrect team members. According to my calculations, that's minus roughly 5 points. But then for saying that Steven is the champ, I'm bumping it up to 10. Because why not? Against Wallace, my programming didn't have any really particularly helpful advice, except for prepare for Milotic and watch out for Rain Dance. So let's see how that battle goes. In the first round, Sceptile immediately takes down Wailord with a Leaf Blade, giving us an early lead. Wallace then sends out his ace Milotic, so I pivot to Gardevoir. She badly poisons the Serpent, then starts setting up. Milotic wastes time using Recover while both the Poison and Gardevoir grow in power. Eventually, Gardevoir electrocutes the Serpent with just under half health remaining. But now it's over. Psychic and Thunderbolt take down the rest of his team with 1 hit each. And that's it. An artificial intelligence has become the champion of Hoenn. May shows up to try to steal our thunder, but nothing can stop us now. May, get out of here before Gardevoir makes you leave. Programmer Birch shows up and congratulates us, and now that we've earned his affection, we can rest easy. Or take over the world. We'll see what happens. Anyway, that gives us a final score of 175 pieces of advice. And because of some poor programming, my scoring software has taken away 74 of those points. This gives us a final score of 101 out of 175, which comes out to a grade of 57.7%. Here in the US of A, that's an F. Not even a passable score, you failed. I may have become the champion, but I don't think Hoenn has to worry about a Skynet doomsday situation anytime soon. Also, if you live outside the US, let me know in the comments down below what grade that percentage equates to in your education system. I think others are a lot more generous when it comes to giving a grade. Also, on screen are all the Pokemon that I caught in this run at the recommendation of ChatGPT, so you can also let me know what team would you build for the Pokemon League using these options. But this video was so much fun. I blew through this and recorded it in about 4 days. It was so much fun. So let me know if you want to see more like this. I had a great time. This voiceover is getting really, really long, so hopefully I can pare this down and make it a manageable video. But again, I had tons of fun, and I'm excited to do more like this if you guys want to see it. But until then, I keep glancing at the screen and I'm sorry, but until then, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video. Later, nerds.